Hi, everyone. This is Laura Columbus for Soul Work Wednesday. Welcome back to this space. Thank you for being here. Our theme for the month of October is solidarity. And so it made me start to really think about, how do we create solidarity here in our own skin, in our own bodies, our hearts, our minds, creating some form of cohesiveness here. And the definition of solidarity is unity or agreement of feeling or action, especially among individuals with a common interest. And this space in general has created that space of solidarity because there is a lot of agreement in a common interest and action. And so we take up space here together and we hold space for each other together in this community. The word kula in Sanskrit means community of the heart. And it's really this coalescing of bringing these people together of, we don't even have to have exactly the same mind, right? We're not the same, but we have some kind of, heart connection, some kind of wish, some kind of desire that is propelling all of us forward. And then each of us take the seat of that leader of, that's this space in a different time, in different moments. And we show up in different communities through the lens of what we're trying to move forward. And so, this idea of creating cohesiveness here in our bodies, in our hearts, in our minds, literally creating a solidarity here in this like organism that is your body. And, how do we do that? Because the reality is we are pulled in so many directions and we are moving through space and time in so many different ways. And in this particular space, we're not in the same cities or towns or states, but we're all over the place. And here we are, this like big branch network of humans, connected in this idea, in this frame of wanting to move the world forward in a way so that it's a safe space for everyone. And and what does that take? So how do we everything's going to always start on this individual level, right? Everything's always going to start in this space of like, how am I doing that for myself? How am I showing up for myself? How am I staying present to my needs? How am I showing up for what I require in the world for support and for my own internal infrastructure? And very often it's really about taking that pause and taking that moment of refuge here in our own bodies, in our own hearts, in our own minds to stay focused, to stay connected to ourselves, to really honor what is moving through us. My eyes want to close. I just, I wrote a little bit about having just driven from New York to Texas and just the gift of having that kind of time and space, which is a very unusual gift for me. I don't normally have that kind of time, away from my day-to-day reality, away from, my children's needs and, the household needs and what needs to occur for my business. And so was this opportunity to literally not have to be anywhere else, but to be sitting in a car and to be driving and to be moving through time and space, without really anybody needing anything from me, except for me to, move along the path, right? And so when we have that kind of space, it's eye-opening. Really, it's mind-blowing because we don't realize how busy our mind is throughout the day, like how much we are trying to figure things out, how many times we're like trying to navigate logistics. I know for me, I'm in this constant state of like, what's next? What's next? What's next? What's next? And it's like, oh, I'm always in the what's next instead of like, oh, where am I right now? And I've been really, really careful lately about that panic I think I've spoken about, in the last couple of videos, that feeling of feeling overwhelmed and feeling panicked, but there's no real reason to be panicked in that moment, right? And so when we draw back into ourselves, when we connect, when we start to like process the grief, when we start to purge, when we start to really, you know, look at what is sort of holding us back and you know, holding us captive on some level to our own experience, then we get to settle into this depth of being. We get to settle into our deepest desires, our wishes, our dreams. What do we want to create? How are we going to do it? And, you know, wanting to create something is a great thing. And having the intention of creating it is so beautiful. And then it's going to require some steps, right? It's going to require some action steps. It's not just going to magically poof appear. And so we want to look at, are we placing our hearts in the right place? Because it's going to take determination. It's going to take commitment. It's going to take time. It's going to take our awareness. It's going to take, you know, resource. And can we step into that and offer our resource in the direction we want to move? And time is so very interesting because the past is informing our moment. No matter what, it's sort of bleeding in. And then our moment is going to inform the future. So everything we're doing in the moment is going to have some sort of impact. And so when we start to look at how we spend our time and how we spend our moments and how we really connect to this living, breathing organism that we are, and the fact that we are constantly organically growing, it's important to check in. So take a seat. I would imagine you're already sitting. Maybe you're running around just waiting for me to sit, even though I'm already sitting. So feel your sitting bones settle. Maybe rock a little bit from side to side. Feel that anchor through the body. I want you to feel the ground. And then just feel the rise and the fall of your breath. The top of the inhale and the bottom of the exhale. And in that space, can we settle in not only to our physical seat, but into our own presence, where we offer ourselves this time and our attention, our awareness. We give ourselves the opportunity to truly step in to this experience of being in a body and having a heart and a mind, and then honoring where we choose to place our heart, because it matters, especially if we are going to create some discipline around it, especially if we're going to devote time and attention, presence and love to whatever it is we want to settle into. So our attention is required when we are trying to transform or grow an experience. And the reality is that transformation is such a pretty word, and yet we all know what a butterfly needs to do in order to become, or rather a caterpillar needs to do in order to become a butterfly, that it literally needs to melt into itself. So we have to melt into ourselves. We have to let ourselves sort of get gooey, soft, spacious, to rebuild, to reform, to recreate. This process can be painful. It can be overwhelming. It can force us to touch grief that we do not want to touch, fears that we do not want to look at. But in looking at them and starting to pull them apart and processing these things, then they no longer hold us captive. We are free to engage from a deeper space. When you get quiet and you hold space for yourself, what do you hear? And you honor that internal conversation. Can we listen so closely, so deeply to our own depths? Can we create a space of solidarity here in our own bodies, hearts, and minds so we are not fighting with ourselves? We're not pushing or pulling at ourselves, but we are creating this space where we are cohesive and intact and present and alive and moving forward. Honoring this space you hold for yourself, honoring this time you offer yourself for reflection, to replenish yourself, to enliven yourself, regenerate yourself. This space where you get to be a more cohesive form of you. You are in solidarity with your own heart and your own presence and your actions and your words, your feelings line up with what you are holding here in your own presence. Draw your hands into prayer in front of your heart, Anjali Mudra, and gently bow your head to your heart and to your body, to your mind, to this resource you hold, and to this connection you make. Namaste. So creating unity here in your own skin, and then holding that as a vision. I hope you all have a beautiful day, and I will see you soon. Bye.